Hey guys, Poro here with another guide, this time for Aurelion Sol Jungle. We're finally at the point where it's been enough time and there's enough nerfs that I can play A-Sol more than once every 10 games without the pick being banned or taken away. Some of you already know, but my voice might sound a bit off in this one because I've been sick for the past week or so sorry about that. Anyways, the Aurelion Sol rework is out, and his Stardust stacks have some interesting properties when it comes to how you stack up. You gain stacks with the following means: pop your empowered Q burst on a champion, kill things inside of your E while it's active, have champions literally just exist in your E, or land your ult. The neat thing is that large monsters and small monsters have stack values too, at 3 and 1 respectively. This really adds up and some camps become really juicy. Take Krugs for example. Large Krug gives 3, 1 medium, and 6 smalls give 7, so 1 Krug clear gives 10 stacks. In fact, here's a quick chart to show just how much each camp will give you. The general consensus at this point is that you're aiming for about 10 stacks a minute when playing lane A-Sol. It's true that this is the general number you can get in lane, as other than cannons, minions only get 1 stack each and your E cooldown isn't low enough that you'll be getting every minion. However, it turns out jungle A-Sol can not only keep up with 10 a minute easily in the jungle, but even surpass it if you're aggressive enough. The most I've ever managed to stack was 700 stacks in a 35 minute game, getting a golden ratio of 20 a minute. I've never been able to recreate that many again, but getting between 10 to 15 a minute is where the bar has been set. So why are these stacks so important then? Well, A-Sol is known to have some legendary scaling, and almost all of it is because of the stacks. His Q and E have quite underwhelming AP ratios, but the percent max health damage on Q and the execute threshold of E increase with the stacks, which is where the biggest chunk of his damage can be found. Therefore, A-Sol scales the fastest through jungle in theory. However, this is really only if A-Sol can check off all the basic fundamental boxes that every other jungler needs to check off. Can he farm camps quickly? Can he farm them healthily? Can he survive 1v1s? Can he skirmish? Can he take objectives? And can he gank? This is what we'll be going over when reviewing A-Sol's strengths and weaknesses as a jungler. So first off, his clear speed and healthiness. Once you have some stacks on hand, your clear is monstrously fast. Due to the percent max health damage bursts, every camp can be soloed down in seconds. Before you have stacks though, it's not fast at all. Specifically, your first and second clears will be on the tougher side. A-Sol has no built-in sustain, so damage can rack up onto him in the early game. There are plenty of tips that will help you clear though. In general, you want to heavily prioritize having every single bit of the camp die while your E is active. If this means waiting awkwardly for your E to come back up before you kill the camp, so be it. Your camp clear will mostly take on the same form. Position yourself in a way where you're targeting the large monster in the camp with Q and get it down to about 500 or so health left, then make sure every small monster is around 200 health or less, then use E on every camp while killing them all with Q. Krugs and wolves are easy, but you'll have to auto the raptors and move behind them first before you can start clearing them. By doing this, you'll be able to complete your first full clear, although you'll be at pretty low health. One alternative you can do in order to save some health at the cost of time is to use your E to kite the camps. A-Sol's E will completely freeze the camp in place, allowing you to Q or auto out of range of the camp. However, this will end up losing you time since you'll need to wait until your E is back up again before you can finish the camp. Early game clearing is a juggling act between prioritizing speed versus health. Since A-Sol risks being low health most of the time, he is susceptible to early invades. Without his stacks, he lacks the DPS needed to win 1v1s, so you'll mostly just have to hightail it out if an invade occurs. Luckily, he can usually get away safely due to his W, which is only cancelable through CC. No fighting back, but no dying either. Mid-game, your clear is extremely fast and healthy, and only limited by your E cooldown. Essentially, you'll clear one camp down to execute health, execute it with your E, then start clearing the next camp until you can execute that one with E. There is a bit of awkward standing around waiting for the cooldown, but it's what you have to do to optimize your Stardust stacking. If you couldn't tell from how fast the tanky single target camps get taken down, A-Sol is also extremely fast at objectives. He can solo basically any dragon whenever he wants, and he can even solo Baron with just 3 items. Your ganks are fine, but nothing special. Usually they'll consist of using W to get in range, and then hoping you can land a good E to lock enemies in place while your allies drop their damage. The E has a fairly slow windup and also doesn't provide hard CC in any way, so any enemy with a dash or blink can escape it. Your ganks are a bit better once you hit 6 due to your ult having hard CC, but it's difficult to land early due to its small hitbox and slow windup. In reality, A-Sol can't really do much early. It can be good to gank sometimes since his abilities generate Stardust when hitting enemies, but it's difficult to lock down any kills. Your early game is mostly just doing what you can to survive enemy jungle pressure while hoping your lanes won't run it down. Now let's say you got lucky and your lanes are all even or slightly behind, and you got to free farm and now you have a couple hundred stacks. This is where you really shine, as A-Sol's mid to late game teamfighting is absolutely insane. The jungle camps help you get your empowered ult extremely quickly, and an A-Sol with a few items will win almost every teamfight he takes if he has an empowered ult and doesn't screw it up. Additionally, it's not like lane A-Sol does any better in the early game. He's pretty easy to get on top of and has little mobility early, so he's a sitting duck for ganks or all-ins. Regardless of which role you pick, it's a battle through the early game. With that out of the way, here's a few ASOL tips and tricks that will help you improve your jungle clear. ASOL can buffer E in the middle of his Q without cancelling his Q. Doing this allows you to use E earlier in the clearing process and executing the camp closer to the end of its duration, which will mean E is up faster for your next camp. ASOL should always start blue buff, since starting red will leave you completely out of mana after your first few camps. Before level 9, you can channel your Q during W on a separate timer from your actual Q timer, meaning you can get more procs of Q off in a row than usual. Once level 9, you can clear blue buff and Gromp at the same time by cutting blue all the way to its maxed range, getting it in execute range, and then spinning around while doing the same thing to the Gromp, allowing both to die to the same E in the center. Now let's get into runes and items. For your build, I heavily recommend going tanky. Your main damage will come from your Q max health damage and E execute damage, and your AP ratios are really bad, so going full AP with items like Deathcap and Shadow Flame is a bit of a waste in my opinion. ASOL is a fairly immobile champion in fights, with his only form of mobility being in a straight line, so being tanky is a must if you want to output good damage before being one-shot. As such, I recommend the following build. Rod of Ages, Seraph's Embrace, and Rylai's Crystal Scepter is your 3-core. After that, I usually like building Zanya's and then Void Staff. Your 3-core items will all give you tankiness in different ways, whether it be by health, healing, or shielding. Zanya's is a good complement to this because it grants armor and stasis for fights. I do like slipping that Void Staff in there though, since his Q % max health damage is magic damage, so Magic Pen is a great stat to have. Rylai synergizes well with ASOL's Q, as he can constantly apply the slow over and over again. Your rune page will have the same idea in mind of focusing more on a bruiser style over a burst style. I like taking First Strike as my keystone into Magical Footwear, Biscuits for early camp clearing, and Cosmic Insight, with Resolve secondaries and Conditioning and Unflinching to be tankier later on. I personally think sacrificing base damage for tankiness is good on ASOL, especially since his % max health abilities don't scale with AP in any way, so it really is just base damage. If you get these stacks optimally, you'll have more than enough damage to carry. That's everything I have for you. For those curious, I'd slap ASOL into high A or low S tier on my jungle tier list. I stream on Twitch sometimes and also have a Discord server, links to both of those will be in the description. I also have a Ko-fi page if you want to donate, and any tips are appreciated. Bye.